I work for I work for Nourish Nova Scotia as the coordinator of the Nova Scotia Coalition for Healthy School Food. And on behalf of Nourish Nova Scotia, I'd like to welcome you to today's webinar on the Breakfast and Beyond program. Nourish Nova Scotia is a registered charity, and we focus on the nourishment of children and youth in our province. And we carry out our mission through programs, advocacy, and partnerships. One of our goals is to showcase successful programs doing great work here, and we're excited to be doing that for the next hour with our partners from Mount St. Vincent University and the Breakfast Program Association of Fairview. Also want to wish everyone a happy Juneteenth. Today commemorates the end of slavery in America. It's also known as Black Independence Day and Emancipation Day. The word Juneteenth comes from the combination of June and 19th. Next slide. So before I hand it over to our partners, I want to acknowledge that we are in Mi'kma'ki, the unsurrendered and ancestral territory of the Mi'kmaq people. We can't really have meaningful conversations about school food without first discussing our relationship to the land and water, which provide our nourishment. If you are here as a settler, as I am today, I encourage you to take the time to consider how, like me, you've benefited from living and working on these unsurrendered lands, and also think about the commitments you'd like to make in centering Indigenous food sovereignty and other aspects of truth and reconciliation in your school food work. I have a lovely colleague, Sue Ann Banks. She co-leads the Indigenous School Food Circle, and she has recommended sharing pictures of the land that we live on when we do land acknowledgements. So this is a picture of beautiful Melmerby Beach, where I live, near where I live in Pictou County. It is traditional fishing and camping ground for the Mi'kmaq in Piktook. I invite you to introduce yourself in the chat, including your pronouns and what lands you're joining us from today. You can also use the chat to ask questions as the presenters are speaking. However, we will wait until the end of their presentations to answer the questions. My colleague Leah Chignette will be monitoring the chat for questions and technical support. And you'll also see her later in this presentation as she used to work on the program. All right, folks, take it away.
Okay, so I'm kicking it off. You won't hear much else from me today because there's a wonderful group of other individuals that are going to take the screen. But my name is Shannon Grant. My pronouns are she, her, hers. And I'm joining you from Dartmouth today, although the Mount St. Vincent University is in Bedford, Halifax. I am originally from Unama'ki, Mi'kma'ki, and my husband is originally from Cree Factory or Moose Factory First Nation in Northern Ontario. So he identifies as Swampy Cree. Yeah, we're happy to live and play and learn on Mi'kma'ki. Okay, so I'm going to get you to progress the slides because I think we all are aware of what the program is, but first I'm going to give you guys a bird's eye view of what to expect today. So we're going to go over some learning goals and objectives because I know there's a lot of educators that are going to be using this resource. We're going to give some introductions because relationships are at the core of the work we do. We're going to talk about the program, we're going to do website tour, we're going to play and look at some educational material development, real world applications. And if time allows, we will have a discussion, but this will not be the end. We're here, so you can reach out and discuss with us anytime. Okay, so we can progress that slide. So these are our learning objectives, but if you learn something else, please let us know. We don't want to restrict your learning. So we're basically going to describe the program. We're going to provide a tour of the program online. We're going to demonstrate the materials and utility of these materials, and we're going to plant some seeds to continue co-learning and growing forward together. we can go forward. Today, these facilitators will be speaking today. As highlighted here, they're going to introduce themselves, but one of our speakers, Antonia Harvey, who shares a love of Venn diagrams with me, has shown that where people are in the program and partners that are going to be talking with us today. We can progress. If I forget to say progress and you think I want to progress, go for it. Okay, so I'm going to pass it off to Antonia for this slide because she was my right hand, and I have a dominant right hand. So she was my right hand person when it came to working with learners on the program. And again, I attribute a lot of the program's success to Antonia's skills. And I'm going to pass it off to Antonia, who is a registered dietitian now with Nova Scotia Health.
Thanks, Shannon. So for those of you that don't know me, like Shannon said, my name's Antonia. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm joining from Dartmouth. So I just wanted to take a moment to highlight two of the Breakfast and Beyond trainees who, as you know, are also helping facilitate today's webinar. And so Jade was part of the food development arm of the program, which you'll hear more about shortly. But I think it's important to highlight the skills that she brought with her to the program that helped us, with the recipe development, and then also with the knowledge mobilization, because she started with the food development team. And then we had the opportunity for her to also join the education part of the program and work with us to develop some of the materials that you'll see highlighted today. And so she finished her Bachelor of Science in Applied Human Nutrition this past year. But she previously has attained a culinary arts diploma and worked as a chef. And then we have Leah, who joined our team, the education team, as a trainee. And then, as you'll see a bit more in a moment, she her role expanded like Jade's did throughout the program. And so she became one of our trainers for some aspects of the material development. And so she has also completed her Bachelor of Science in Applied Human Nutrition. And like Lindsay mentioned, she now works with Nourish Nova Scotia, and she is a registered dietitian. And so as you can see on the slide, as Shannon kind of highlighted, when we have students that we're able to work with and help them develop their knowledge and skills in a way that allows them to then move on and become the teacher of either us or other trainees, we feel like we've done our job. You can progress the slide. And I'm going to let Shannon speak to Pam, because she has known her longer than I have.
So in short, Pam Carter rocks. She is not able to be here in person right now because she's experiencing some technical difficulties, but Jade will channel her during the talk today. So again, I've highlighted here that Pam has been involved with Burton Edinger Elementary School as a special education teacher for quite a bit of time. So 1997 to June 2020. But she continues to devote her time, energy, blood, sweat, and tears to the Breakfast Program Association of Fairview. And as you can see, has a really interesting eclectic background. Studying at the Acadia University, MSVU, and Atlantic School of Theology. And I didn't know she was a Mount alumni, which just kind of sweetened that historical context a bit more, because she really is associated with the program in all aspects. And then beyond breakfast, she wanted to share that she has 2 adult children and 2 grandchildren who fill up her time as well. I also know she has ties to Cape Breton, and I'm a Cape Bretoner too, so we always got to give that shout out. You can progress the slides. So you'll see over the next few slides, and we can make these slide decks available because again, it is really good to know what people make up your community. And that's really what these slides are about, is to show all the individuals that have contributed to this. It's not one person, never can be. So I've highlighted the Breakfast Program Association of Fairview team. We have the VP here, Vicky Sterla, and then there's several other people that have contributed. Here, Eric Vandermeer and Vanderboer and others. I'm going to continue to the next slide. Some of these people you'll recognize. I'm on the slide. It's always weird to see your face on the screen. But we also have Dr. Priya that you're going to talk to in a bit, and Dr. Boden Hovey, who can't be here today. And you know Antonia already. And it continues. This is how big the team is. This is how many people it takes to make something like this. Again, we have a multimedia team. We have several trainees that have now gone on, most of them, to have their own careers. Again, the names are here. Feel free to give them a Google. You'll find most of them out there doing great things. Give them a job if they don't have one. Okay, we'll continue. And I'm not sure, is Leah going to speak to this slide, Antonia?
I'm happy to speak to it. And, you know,
Leah, do you want to speak?
Yeah, I think though that Leah can, you know, speak more to the growth that she showed us throughout the program. So
Yeah, I'll
I'll
pass
let
it off
her.
to you guys.
Yeah, I'll let Leah take the lead. And if I think she's being too modest, I'll jump in.
Awesome. Yeah, so this slide is just to show kind of the progression, and I have no shame of where I started out with food photography. And of course, there's so much behind Breakfast and Beyond, but food photography was a piece of it that was really important. And this is kind of where I had started. So on the left-hand side, you can kind of see the photos there that I had, which are still, I think, nice. But then on the right-hand side is where I progressed within like a year to 2 years of doing food photography for the program. It helps having great recipes that Jade and the team developed. But it is something that I really enjoyed doing and really enjoyed learning through feedback from the team, feedback, and also training from Antonia and other people in the program. And something that I really grew to have a passion for, and the Breakfast and Beyond team really helped allow me to develop them by creating lots of recipes and having lots of practice. And then down in the middle, you can kind of see not only did I do food photography, but also videography, cooking demonstrations. So we filmed a lot of the recipes that were created. And so even in that as well, there was a huge progression in the videos that I started off doing and the videos that ended up being the final versions. And it was a lot of work working 3 cameras, and luckily having people in the room to help with filming a cooking demonstration. You learn lots while you're cooking, and how you need to get things before they're mixed and there's so many behind the scenes of things that you need to remember and know how to do. And it's really such a learning process, and I learned a lot doing that. So I'll let Antonia maybe take over if I missed anything.
Yes, I think that Leah did a good job of being humble. But I do want to highlight that, you know, in addition to the end products that you see here and that you can find on the website that she was involved in, bringing it back to, you know, other areas of growth for her. Included project management. So she was, you know, by the end of her time with the program, was organizing the film days, which, as you might imagine, requires a lot of background work and a lot of planning, more than you might think. I remember when I did my first cooking demonstration, you know, it's quite shocking how much it does take to produce, you know, a video a couple minutes long. But then Leah was also involved in contributing to what we call our Train the Trainer kind of program or document framework. And so that it was involving documents throughout the program that was used to help onboard and then train new trainees. And so Leah contributed to that framework quite a bit. So she was able to provide training to the actors, we say actors, but it's the people that on our team were featured in these videos, and really teach them how to, run a food demonstration filming day, and then what needs to be considered. So that's a big piece of it, of her contribution to that. In addition to that, she also helped us develop resources around how can you do your own food styling, and develop your own cooking demonstration. So I'm happy to say that her role went beyond developing her own skills and knowledge, and was able to translate into training further members, and then developing resources that can be used with the program users, both in schools and in the broader community.
And we'll provide an overview of those as we move through the presentation. So you could say that she went beyond breakfast. Okay, so we'll go to the next slide. Breakfast and beyond. We just want to highlight some other trainees as well. So this is an open access journal. You can access a little write-up. Rachel Waugh, one of our previous staff members, now also a dietitian, did, and she also took one of Leah's food photography pieces, and it was front and center on an academic journal as an example of knowledge translation. So shout out to Leah and Rachel and everyone else for their contributions on that. So you can get access to all of that online, open access, teachers, teacher support, staff, etc. Next slide. More people, and then we're done. We're going to move into some other stuff, but we just want to give a shout out. We could never get into everybody that contributed, but these are a few more. We wanted to stress, and I can't stress this enough, the importance of building relationships at the core of creation and dissemination of traditional and cultural food knowledge. This is something we're all learning on. It's a humble process. It's not easy. And so what we need to do is make sure that we have individuals who house that are knowledge keepers of this information involved through the process. And so we've highlighted a few people here that were kind enough to provide some support, but there are many more. And I do recommend that when there are cultural traditional foods that are outside of your own lived experience, that you do ensure that you, if you're going to take something off the website and use it, that you do consult with people in community and or people that have lived experience with those foods as well through the development of those materials. And try not to rely too heavily on the students in your class for that, because again, it's good to bring other people in so they feel supported rather than being kind of pinpointed and brought in to co-teach when they haven't necessarily consented to that in advance. Next slide. More partners. I'm going to move on so we have time to go into the fun stuff. I'm going to pass it back to Antonia. We've got a couple more frameworks we're going to lay down to kind of set the presentation and activities in motion. But this is a lovely image that Antonia has developed to kind of summarize the program from our grant perspective.
Thanks, Shannon. So as many of you know, our food choices can impact health outcomes, and there's many things that impact our food choices. So I've tried to provide examples of different sort of overall kind of high level categories of things that influence what we do eat, and the ones that I've highlighted in yellow there are ones that through the Breakfast and Beyond program, we've tried to target. And so hopefully by increasing individuals' knowledge and skills around food and nutrients, the relationship between food and health, and then skills around food selection, preparation, and storage. We're going to kind of arm our program users with things that they need to make food choices that are going to support chronic disease prevention. And I've also highlighted food preferences there. I'm not saying that our program is going to, change someone's food preferences, but, we do know that trying different recipes and having different foods available, can impact someone's food choices, especially children. So if there are recipes that, users haven't seen before or had before, it could be an opportunity to try new foods and to maybe find something new that they enjoy.
And Tony, I will highlight too, because again, modesty is your issue too when it comes to the work you've done. We've also worked with Priya and the food development team to ensure that there are options and substitutions for allergies in pretty much all the recipes. And so if you have students, learners that are interested in that, each of the resources will have options for substitution, which is also, again, a teachable component, as well as trying to create safe and inclusive environments for people to enjoy food as well and to avoid stigma surrounding allergy or suspected allergy.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting that, Chan. As a dietitian and then also someone with multiple allergies, it's one of my my favorite parts of the recipes. You can go to the next slide, Leah. So I'm actually going to pass it off to Priya now, and she'll take you through the food development piece of the program.
Yes, I think I'll pass it on to Pam if she's available on phone.
So I'll be here for Pam's part.
Okay,
So she's
sure.
sending her notes, so I'll be
Yeah, and I'll also invite Vicky to kind of fill in a few words about the BPAF.
Yeah,
Vicky,
hi everyone. I'm really excited to be here. I'm here as the VP of the Fairview of the Breakfast Program Association of Fairview, and what we want to tell you about more of what is our role in the community. So we are a charitable organization that provides financial and volunteer support to the breakfast programs at Free School in Halifax, the Fairview Heights Elementary, Burton Ettinger Elementary, and Fairview Junior High. Our goal is to enhance educational achievement by providing good nutrition through a breakfast program. And I will pass it over to Jade, who will be talking in behalf of PAN about the history and how the breakfast program began.
everyone. I'm Pam's proxy today. She sends her regrets. She really fought to be here, but unfortunately she couldn't make it. Next time I'll go to her house, so she'll be here. But she wanted to let you know about how this program has been, like Breakfast Program Association of Fairview and the Mount have been working together since 2009 is what she said it started. And she said that we wouldn't be able to do half of the things that we do without the support from the Mount. She said that each school has like a program that best suits its own needs based on the facility space. So the recipes you'll see when you go to the website, that let's say you don't have a stove or a griddle, then you can alternate the recipes based on what supplies you have. Like we try to make things as accessible to you and make it as quick, easy, but still nutrition as possible, which is something she really appreciates with all of the recipes. She said she wanted to say how it made such a huge difference in the health and alertness and the well-being of the children who are in Fairview, because breakfast is such an important part of helping sustain like a long-term educational experience. She wanted to mention that there's many Mount students that have volunteered for about the last few years while they were students, a few who stayed on. And then she mentioned that she also gets the whole program gets monetary support from funds received from the service clubs. And she wanted to mention that the partnership between the three schools, which Maria mentioned, it's like Fairview Junior High, Fairview Elementary, and Burton Ettinger, has been connected to the Mount for the last I mentioned this already, since 2009, sorry. The notes got a little convoluted. And she wants to finish up with saying she looks forward to continuing this partnership and using the recipes to encourage the kids to eat something nutritious, but still not having the limitations of you can only eat like whatever they have access to that day. And yeah.
Yeah, thanks, Jade. And Jade has been modest as well. So Jade has been a long-time volunteer of the Breakfast Program Association of Fairview. So even though she graduated, she still goes and prepares the breakfast for the kids. So that's something that's appreciated well. Yeah, we can progress on to the next slide. Okay, so now a bit about the Breakfast and Beyond. So this is a food and nutrition program that is based out of the Department of Applied Human Nutrition. And this has been funded by Medavie for a period of 3 years. The main objectives of this program are basically to develop healthy, affordable recipes using any types of staple or locally sourced ingredients, and also that meets the provincial as well as the national dietary guidelines. So we'll talk a bit about those guidelines in a minute. The second objective of this program was to create educational opportunities for children, youth, as well as for families. So develop different types of food knowledge as well as the skills. And then by working on all of these aspects to provide training for our nutrition students at the Mount, and also for our interns to create educational materials as well as resources that are evidence-based and that will be made available in the website for all our community partners. And finally, to evaluate the program using all the research materials that we have created by means of engaging with the students, the support workers, the teachers, the community partners, and also to create a feedback loop mechanism by which we can get all the inputs and to improve the program and implement them. So these are the main objectives of the Breakfast and Beyond. So I just also wanted to mention that this aligns very well with both our federal as well as the provincial government initiatives and priorities in terms of reducing childhood obesity, also tackling the aspect of breakfast skipping that is commonly seen among children as well as adolescents, and also Medavie's vision towards Canadian youth, where they wanted to give them all the knowledge, the supports, and the tools in order to better their lives. So this was an initiative that was proposed by both Dr. Badan Lahovi as well as Dr. Shannon Grant, and we were very fortunate to get the funding for a period of 3 years. So just to get into the details of the guidelines that we followed while we prepared the recipes. So many of you are aware that in Nova Scotia, most of the public schools should follow the food and beverage standards that basically dictates, which types of foods can be served in schools and how often. And these are based on the nutritional composition as well as the ingredients used in the recipe. So here you can see that there are 3 different nutrition categories, maximum, moderate, as well as minimum. And then if you look into the maximum category, you will see that these are foods and beverages that fall into all of the 4 food groups. So basically the grain products, the vegetables and fruits, the milk products, and or the meat and alternatives. So these foods will be very high in essential nutrients and very low in risk nutrients, for example, low in sugar, salt, as well as fat. There will be no additional, sugars added, no artificial sweeteners, and also there will be minimal processing. That will be in there. So these kinds of foods and beverages are served and sold daily in schools, whereas when you move on to the moderate category, you will see that they contain essential nutrients, not very high as you see in maximum, and they may be lower in fiber and also a higher content of the risk nutrients. And it also undergoes quite a lot of processing, and also the use of artificial sweeteners is also allowed. So these types of foods can be served no more than 2 times per week. Whereas in the case of minimum nutrition, these are types of foods that do not have a high amount of essential nutrients, and it is very high in fat, salt, and sugar. And these can be served on special occasions, for example, for a Halloween party or maybe a Christmas bake sale, etc. So while we developed these recipes, we made sure that most of our recipes fell within either the maximum or the moderate nutrition categories. Next slide, please. Okay, so another aspect that we kept in mind was to follow the Health Canada's front of package labeling. So now all the packaged foods require a symbol on the front of the package, which indicates that a food is high in saturated fat, sugars, and or sodium. So as you can see, there are a few categories that has been suggested by Health Canada. And here, these are the types of foods that will require a front of package nutritional symbol. So if you look at the prepackaged foods that have a reference amount that is greater than 30 grams, and if it meets or exceeds the 15% of the daily value for the risk nutrients, then you need to have that symbol. Right. Similarly, if you look on to the right-hand side, you will see the prepackaged meals and main dishes. The reference amount's a little bit higher, which is about 300 grams. And for this case, it is limited to about 30% of the daily value, especially for fat, sugars, and sodium. So this consideration was a little bit, difficult in terms of actually following up with the recipe formulations. So we try to actually maintain within the 15% of the daily value of these risk nutrients, especially for snack products. And then when it came to main dishes or the meals, we try to actually keep it within the 30% of the daily value for all these nutrients. Next one, please. And then finally, the newest version of the Canada's food guide, which focused most on the plant-based food. So majority of our recipes are plant-based. Yes, we do have animal-based ingredients as well, but you will see in the website that a number of recipes are mostly plant-based ones. Next one, please. So while doing the food formulation, we had to take care of a few aspects. One is basically to look at recipes that the kids would really like to have. So once we have a recipe in mind, that was followed by the selection of ingredients, as well as drafting of the recipe preparation guidelines. So once we have that, we went on with the nutritional analysis that was carried out using a Genesis R&D software, which helped in creating the Canadian nutritional facts table that you see on the right side, right? So this was an important step because this actually helped us to understand the nutritional composition of the recipe per serving. So if the recipe had a high amount of fat, then we would actually go back and rework on the formulation. For instance, if the recipe has butter in it, and then we would look into the options for some kinds of replacements or substitutions. For instance, replacing, half of the butter with maybe low fat or fat-free yogurt or maybe chia seed gel. So that way we are still able to create a product, that falls within the nutritional categories that are suggested by the food and nutrition policies of the Nova Scotia Public Schools, and at the same time create an acceptable, product in terms of taste as well as texture. So just a couple of examples that you see here. The one is for a meal. So as you can see here, the nutrient criteria per serving has been provided in the guidelines, and they have done this for all of the food groups and also for all of the nutrition categories, right? So for this apple pie cinnamon oatmeal, you will see that the fat is basically within the 3 grams per serving. The fiber is a little bit higher, which also falls within the maximum nutrition category, as well as the sodium is also within the limits, right? So if there is any changes that we need, then we would go back and rework on the formulation and make sure it fits within the maximum or the moderate category. So the next one, please. And this is an example of the snack. So here, again, there is a little bit of a leniency towards the nutrient criteria per serving. So here, the fat can be more than 5 grams, but here you can see in the zucchini carrot muffins, the fat was still within the maximum nutrition, criteria that was suggested, which is 3 grams. And the sodium is also within the levels. The couple of things that would actually make this snack product fall into the moderate nutrition category is the amount of fiber. So the fiber is not more than 2 grams. So since it is very low, this falls into the moderate nutrition category. And at the same time, these muffins do use added sugar. right? So that is also another criteria. And then we haven't used the whole grain flour to prepare this recipe. So this was an all-purpose refined flour. Again, that would also push this snack product into the moderate nutrition category. The next one, please. Okay, so this is the fun part, and I'll pass it on to Jade, who has been very helpful with the preparation of all these recipes.
So what we've been doing is we have the recipe category. So obviously they've been categorized from like maximum, moderate, and minimum nutrition. So there's also categories for the specific recipes. As you see, there's the hot meals, the refrigerated grab and go meals, the refrigerated frozen meals, and then the grab and go. What's very cool about a lot of the recipes, which you see there's 50 that were developed and 5 developed by the Two-Eyed Seeing program. Some of them are interchangeable within these categories. So we can prepare the grilled cheese, which is a big hit at Burton Edinger. But you can also, that could be a hot meal, but you can also freeze that. Same with the muffins. The muffins can be grab and go, but they're also considered a frozen meal, which makes it diverse, still fits in your category, and it also makes it easy so you can prepare things beforehand. So if you're feeding like 500 kids, you need to be able to move quickly to make sure that they have these nutritious meals and prepared ahead of time. We also looked into the cultural diversity. So we have the Moroccan spice bulgur, which uses spices to replace the salt that you'd be looking for. It adds flavor without adding sodium. The Bahamian tuna and grits. I'm Bahamian, so I grew up on that. Like that's what I had for breakfast, like 5 mornings a week. And then we have the Indian lentil pancakes. So we really tried to make sure that we touch each comfort food, because the relationship with food is you need to, 1, enjoy it, 2, have it be familiar, and 3, have it be nutritious. So we tried to kind of keep it within what it was supposed to be, but still bring it into a nutritious like category. Yeah, that's all I have to say. Next slide, please.
Okay, so another consideration while developing these recipes was to do a food safety risk assessment of all the recipes that we have developed. So this was done by a food safety regulatory specialist from Perennia Food and Agricultural Corporation. So I'm not sure if you're aware of that. So this is basically a provincial development agency, and their mission is basically to support the growth and the transformation as well as economic development of the agro-food sector in Nova Scotia and beyond. So we were lucky enough to have those specialists on board, and we sent out the recipes and the preparation guidelines to them. So they kind of created different forms for each of the recipes, and then they were able to divide those recipes into low-risk products such as breads, pancakes, and muffins, medium-risk products such as soups, burgers, etc., as well as high-risk products, which would be salads, smoothies, etc. So as you can see, more the moisture content, the risk of the product is also very high. So what they did was they made specific notes on each of the recipe forms in terms of what the allergens are, what kind of precautionary statements can actually go in. They did a risk assessment of the bacterial contaminations that can happen. And also if the food is being immediately used or if it will be stored, then what would be the storage time and temperature. So all that aspects were taken care of in terms of all these developed recipes. So this was a great process to get done, and all that information is available on our end, and that will also be made available in the website as well. Okay, so the next one. Okay, so another aspect that took quite a lot of the time from our end, and since this program started in 2019, 2020, and then everybody knows that the pandemic hit and we were not able to make any recipe formulations or everything in the lab. So we used up that timing to do the recipe costing for all the recipes that we developed. So one was done in 2020, and then things changed after the pandemic. As you know, the grocery prices have increased, so we wanted wanted to redo the recipe costing this year as well. So we have two different cost estimations that have been done. So you can actually see that in 2020, when the cost analysis was completed, for the oatmeal, it actually costs about $1.82. That is to make a batch of 3 servings. So that would equate to about 61 cents per serving, right? And come 2024, you could see a big increase in the pricing. So this actually increased to about $2.71, which is basically about 90 cents per serving. And similarly, we did the same for the muffins. This is just an example to show you all. There has been a big increase in just 3 years. So in terms of the oatmeal, it was a 49% increase. And in terms of the muffins, it was a 53% increase in terms of the prices. I also wanted to mention that there are quite a lot of variabilities when you do the recipe costing, because there are quite a large number of brands that are available. There are the no-name brands and general brands available. So we kind of actually took what was the least expensive ones and took 2 stores in mind, which is basically the Walmart and the Superstore, where we would actually go and get the groceries. So the pricings are based on the average of the prices from Walmart as well as the Superstore. But if you think about, the school meal programs and purchasing the food ingredients in bulk, you would definitely be able to reduce the cost a bit, because the pricings will change based on whether you're buying a 1 kilo or a 2 kilo or a 5 kilo pack of these ingredients. And also if it is on sales and clearance, you probably might be able to reduce the costing as well. And this was a very important aspect because most of the schools are given limited funds for the meal programs. So as much as we can make it affordable and easily accessible, that was an important aspect to consider. Right, so that's all from the food product development end. So I'll just pass it on to Antonia now.
Thanks, Priya. So now we'll move into what we call the lab to classroom or bench to belly. And so this is the part where we took the food development team's recipes and then mobilized them so that they could be used by the knowledge or program users. And so there's a lot of different activities that are involved with this. And as Shannon had previously mentioned, there are different relationship-based activities and context-specific activities that need to occur. And it's not just about dissemination, but it's also about engaging program users, having them participate, and then paying attention to the impact that the materials that are developed can have. So we're going to take a closer look at that process. So the first thing we'll start off with is the website. So what I kind of summarized in the previous slide is shown in an infographic form on the right there. And as Shannon mentioned before, I'm very, very visual. So this diagram is just to help show the relationship between the different components of the program and the people that would be using the materials, and how all of that is related to produce the education materials. And so it's not a linear process. It's something that is continually informed throughout the process, and it's Shannon's miming, it's a big circle essentially. And so the website is something that houses all of the materials. And so Leah and I are going to give you a high level overview of the website, so you can have a better idea of what the materials are that we produced. So this is what we call the website landing page or homepage. And if you scroll down, there's an introductory video about the program. And then there are links to the different pages. So if you go to the About page, it gives some background information that you've already heard today about the program, and sort of summarizes what our mission, values, and goals are. And then the diagram that you saw on the previous slide, or on the slide we were just on, shows the program. We have the program methodology there. And the next, so the next section is we have more information about our team members, and through each drop down, you can expand, and you can learn more about everyone that was involved. And I shouldn't say everyone, but the core team of the Breakfast and Beyond program. So if you want to learn more about them, that page is there. And then we do also have a community partners page. So that page provides, again, a high-level overview of each partner, and then there's links to external websites if you want more information about each one. I'm going to save the original recipe section for Leah, and then I'll get her to show you what the resource library looks like, but I'll speak to it a bit more later in the presentation. So just briefly, the resource library contains information that's going to support knowledge and skill development, critical thinking, and then also communication of ideas. And Shannon has her hand up there, so I'll let her take over.
I'm just going to add too, we're getting into this later, but all of these materials have been developed that teachers can use them with students ranging from grade 7 to 9 and can be adapted to the curriculum. And so we're going to show some brief curriculum mapping in a few moments, so keep that in mind.
Thanks, Shannon. Yeah, so that is the resource library, and we'll get into it a bit more later. And now, again, like the contact us page is pretty self-explanatory. So there is different contact for general inquiries, or if you're looking for a specific member of the leadership team, the communication avenues are there. So now I'll pass it over to Leah, and she can walk you through an example of the original recipe pages.
So if you click here, you'll see our recipes, which is the most fun part of the website. At the top, you'll see what each recipe will include on each page, or what most of them at least have, which is a photo, how long it takes to make the recipe, what you need to make the recipe, how to make the recipe, how to store the recipe, which is kind of what Priya was talking about, allergy information, nutrition information, and Nova Scotia School Food and Beverage Standards. So as you can see, we have categorized them, but as Jade mentioned, you can use them in different ways other than what is just listed here. Like certain things can also act as a grab and go, and also a cold meal and hot meal. So if you click into each one, it'll bring you into another page, and it'll show all of the recipes. On the very front part, you will see which standard it is at. So you can see that just at a quick glance, whether it's maximum or moderate, which most of what we did was try to fit within maximum or moderate. And then you'll also see the key allergens noted there as well, and suggested substitutions. So I'll go into grab and go just to bring you through one of our recipes. So zucchini carrot muffins. So when you click on it, you will either see a photo or a video. As mentioned, we did film cooking demonstrations for some of the recipes. So you'll see a video that you can click on, and it'll bring you right through the recipe and show you how to create it. And then once you go down, it'll again show you how much it makes, the preparation time, cook time, any equipment that you need. So it really gives you the information that you need to prepare the recipe, what you need to make the recipe, and how to make it. So all of the ingredients and instructions are on here as well. And a lot of this again went through large backend recipe development and standardization to make sure that we were consistent with the measurements that we're using and the language that we're using. So throughout the ingredients and also through the instructions here, we try to make it as consistent as possible and as reader-friendly and user-friendly as possible with the population in mind. And so down here at the bottom, again, you'll see allergy information and more information about the recipe. You will find the nutrition facts table. And then for each recipe, we've included a printable version with the photo or without the photo, just to make it a bit more printer friendly. All right. Question, what is the difference between so that is the recipe, an example of a recipe there. And again, you can go through each category and we have all of our recipes listed.
Okay, Antonia's asked me to speak because she just got a page. This is the, you know, all of us are coming in at different directions. We all have all kinds of things on the go. So if you could bring me back to the slides, Leah, then I'll continue on, because we want to make sure we don't go too far over time. Lots to have to share today. So you can go to the next slide. The next few slides highlight some of the key components. So for example, how we've, you know, mobilized. When we say mobilize, of course, it's not just simply like knowledge transfer or knowledge, passing knowledge. It's trying to facilitate an exchange, an engagement, a multi-way exchange about food. And so you're already probably piecing together that there are several ways we can use this in teaching. You can teach language, you can teach math. We've already highlighted again, calculations associated with caloric intake, and all those types of things. And so again, we've highlighted some key examples of some of the recipes, food styling, recipe videos, and educational videos that you can get on the website. So it is a library, in fact. I'll do the next slide. Again, we've highlighted some key things about what the recipe includes and about the recipe. And this is another layer in addition to foods, the food development piece. I'm going to go to the next slide again. So this is the part I find teachers are really interested in, and that we have in fact mapped the materials onto the curriculum. It can be used within curriculum. I know that there's a 360 tool that people use, and they'll often reach out to me and say, I can't find what I want and need on here. Do you have any resources that I can use? So yes, we do. We have tons, as you can see on this website, and we're happy to provide support as needed. Most of these resources actually map back on the key competencies, which are highlighted here. I was going to go through the example of healthy living that was given in the manuals to the teachers, but I'm going to save that, move on to our example, as we do highlight the competencies: citizenship, communication, peer career development, critical thinking, and technological skills under the healthy living, but we do several others as well. So let's go on to our next one rather than so we've given two examples in our slide deck today, one of the Portuguese ham and cheese melt, which is also known as tosta mista. And it is a Portuguese Brazilian treat that is basically a cheese sandwich. And then we also have our ever so popular chocolate black bean brownie bites. And you did hear right, black bean. So as we said before, we really try to push to do plant-based approaches and ensure that we're meeting current evidence-based practice. And so this is integrated into our recipes as well. We can do next slide. This is mapped onto 7 and 9. So as you can see, recipe example 1, we've mapped onto healthy living, science, social studies, and technology. I'm going to highlight technology today. We can do the next slide. Doesn't it look yummy though? And as you can see here, we can use this activity and associated materials to meet technological fluency. You can also use those videos we gave on how to make a food demonstration as well in this means. But these are the two objectives. So integrate science information into traditional and cultural recipes. And then objective 2 is select an application that can facilitate communication of information to a wider audience. And so once again, you can use your phone app. We actually have a video to help students use their phone app if they want to use that as a means to communicate their ideas in the classroom surrounding food and to build a more wider relationship with food just beyond nutrients and what they're supposed to or not supposed to eat. Okay, the next slide. This is a video that we co-created with one of our students who's now off doing wonderful things, Daniel Nunez. And he created one of those like videos. They're like a white screen where you kind of draw out and animate how to create the recipe. And so you could use this to integrate this into your curriculum to showcase one, how to use art, how to use language, how to use nutritional science in communicating your ideas, but also building a relationship to food and culture. I'm not going to watch the video today. We don't have enough time, but you can watch it on the website. Post-webinar, I'm going to encourage you guys to reflect on what ways can you integrate this into your own work. Try it out and feel free to reach out for support or conversation. We'll have the email at the end. I'll do the next slide. The next example we have is those chocolate black bean brownie bites. Oh my goodness, it's a bit of a tongue twister, so that could also be fun for language. We have the beans on top here, the pulses, and this is something we focus on a lot in our research programs because we do know that science currently shows that even if you just add half a cup of pulses to your diet each day, you actually reduce your risk for several chronic diseases, but you also can reduce progression or negative outcomes related to those diseases. And so in this category, we could use this recipe and associated documents to teach healthy living, science, social studies, and technology, but I'm going to focus on science and social studies. We'll do the next slide. And I've broken it up here again to showcase how cool pulses are. Yeah, I said cool. I try to teach my students that pulses are cool. I think everyone that is with me today agrees, so I think we've done our job. But this map here really showcases where we obtain pulses, so you could do geography related dialogues, you know, the fact that it's a local plant that we can grow and harvest. It also showcases in grade 7 to 8 exploration of fundamental concepts such as cause and effect, scientific reasoning. You can use them to show similarity and diversity, stewardship and sustainability, because pulses are not only something that is sustainable and good for the environment, but it also is something that has a really good shelf life and costs a lot less than, say, a lot of meat. So not only for us, but for our environment. And this brings me to perspectives and experiences of others. So showcasing how what we consume is a relational act to other people. So looking at how we fit within larger ecology and affordability as well as sustainability. It also brings in critical thinking. And when you look at the videos, we can also bring in communication of ideas. Next slide. So again, post-webinar reflection, how could you take a black bean recipe? So you're thinking black bean brownies, okay, yummy. Of course, the kids enjoy it. We have our lunch program starting, so maybe that could be a yummy dessert. But also it can make our way into classrooms. So just because home ec's not necessarily something that's in all courses or schools, it doesn't mean we can't work this information into other sections of the curriculum. Next slide. So again, these are all examples of knowledge mobilization. And for those of you that don't know about knowledge mobilization, it is in fact itself its own science. And so I do try to highlight that to teachers as well, that when you're teaching science, exploring knowledge mobilization, so communication of scientific concepts to the community, is actually a science in and of itself that people can make their career on. And you know what? Lots of people on this call are doing that, including Leah. She basically is doing knowledge mobilization every day for nutrition. So I'll go to the next slide. So what we've done here in the next couple of slides, and I will highlight again, these slides are available. We broke down the development of mobilizing a recipe so that you can use it in your classrooms and understand the process. But I'm going to leave that as a resource and get to the next couple of slides. I'm making up some time because we spent some. We've given an example here on recipe mobilization, which is the Bohemian tuna and grits, which has already gotten a lot of airtime today. So it is obviously awesome. I will recommend that you do keep in mind that tuna is a large fish, and therefore there are recommendations on how much tuna you should consume in a month, depending on the type of tuna. And so again, that's something we could chat about at another time. But it is an affordable, storage-friendly resource that we can teach kids about. And as you can see here, we have pictures, we have videos with no other but Jade, and then we have the recipe handouts that you can use in your classroom. Next slide. So although we've run out of time, what I'm going to do is, if people could or are interested in quickly popping in the chat their ideas on what types of curriculum activities or concepts or subjects or topics, it doesn't have to be well thought out. I just want knee-jerk reactions. How do you see using the Bohemian tuna grits in your curriculum right now? You can think social studies, you can think learning outcomes. You can even think about your lunch program. How do you see that showing up in your space? And again, this is just starting the conversation, and we can continue it after the webinar. But if someone's brave enough to pop some ideas of how we can use this in schools when teaching, interacting, and forming relationships with foods with our students and one another, we'd love to see what you have. I gave one example. So I said, tuna are big fish. What does that mean? Right? That could be a discussion on resource acquisition. It could be on minerals. It could be on the nutrition of the fish. Does anyone know what the yellow stuff is? And what does that mean to Bohemian people? Jade, you want to tell us about what the yellow stuff is and what does that mean?
Happy to.
Yeah.
Grits is made from corn. Corn is very easy to grow, especially in very hot conditions, which is basically the Bahamas all year round. Like, it's so funny. Everyone's like, there's a heat wave coming. It's gonna be 30. I'm like, that's our winter. I am so excited. I cannot wait. So, like me, corn, it thrives in very hot conditions. And we grow so much that we had to figure out how to preserve it because it does get this bacteria on it, which in Mexico they figured out a way to like really indulge and like embrace that bacteria that grows on it. However, we were like, okay, we're not going to do this. We're going to ground it down, dry it out, and save it, which is why grits became a thing. It's a mozzie. You can mention the historics on it because it's cheap, it's easy, it's long-term storable, and it's quick to cook. I mean, depending on the coarseness of the grits, which yeah, that's a great one, Deval. The sensory evaluation, if you were to put your hand in a big bowl of grits, you wouldn't know what you're touching because you're like, what is this? Cooked or uncooked? So there's so many ways you can utilize it, but basically it's just corn cooked down. Now we had to pull back, as Shannon and I talked about this when we made it. I had to pull back the butter we would typically add to this dish. There's so much butter in this dish, which is where the dairy aspect comes from it. But I mean, on its own, it is delicious. Like it's just, I don't, corn naturally has this natural buttery to it, flavor to it. When you add butter to it, it just kind of elevates it to a whole new level. And it's a textural comparison to the tuna, which is soft. And that's why they add that's why we add the onions and the avocado. So you have the healthy fats, you have, yes, Lori, you can make it budget friendly. In the 90s, like you could get a huge container of tuna and grits in the Bahamas for 99 cents. That could feed you for like 2 meals. It was humongous, but I mean, it's a couple dollars more now, but still budget friendly. So yeah, back to the
Wonderful. I
Yeah.
love it because food security is a major issue here in Nova Scotia. We have the highest rates of food insecurity in children across the country. And I do think again, just the idea that the storage is not as much of an issue. And Jade and I have talked about all the different ways we can use corn. So that would be we've made pancakes, blueberry pancakes, blueberry muffins. There's cornbread, and it is again a comfort food that can travel well. So we can teach people that if you buy the ingredients, you can use several other ways on the website as well. And so again, you could also do math surrounding the recipes. You can do math surrounding the nutritional composition, like what does it provide? And there are websites that we can provide or support you in using to teach that as well. So yeah, there's all kinds of interesting things we can do with this. And I do recommend just brainstorming or spitballing is my preferred term, to how you can integrate this into your curriculum, because we have several examples at hand if you'd like to see them. Thanks, guys. And I see some people, I'm going to read a couple of examples in the end. So we have geography and history, social studies, taste testing. I love the idea of putting your hand in the jar with a blindfold on. The kids would be bananas about that. They like those types of things, or hate it at the same time. Lots of learning happens. And then Lori highlighted the budget component. And then again, Deval's highlighting ghee, which again is clarified butter, often used in Indian cooking, and it removes the milk solids. Again, so this exchange is happening in the chat. This is exactly what food can do. And so the program is based on these exchanges of, throwing ideas around and ways that we can kind of integrate and learn from each other. As we highlighted earlier, the resource library is extensive. We did not post the Train the Trainer manual, which is how we train the students to train others. But those of you interested can email us and we can provide those documents. Although I do think a lot of teachers are familiar with the Train the Trainer model, we can make it relate directly to how to use the website. And as we highlighted earlier, we have several skills surrounding cooking. So we say food skills and nutrition are slightly different. Nutrition being teaching, about what the food can provide the human body, whereas foods is more, we're looking at what does the food's cultural significance and, food safety and food prep. They're all different topics. We have the technology fluency, which the Make Your Own Demo website actually could be a full project for students, especially in the higher grades. And we do also provide some dialogues on wellness, diversity, and inclusiveness, including how to modify medical diets for culturally diverse populations, as well as bringing some proto-traditional and traditional foods to the table. Next slide. So we're just highlighting again the video series, and you see these two smiley men at the top, Matthew Stones and Charles Curry. Their full-time jobs are actually with Dal Medicine, but they do have a side company in which they help people like us do our thing. So you can check out their work on the website as well. They helped train Leah and helped train them. And there are just a few more examples of curriculum mapping for your resources if you want to download the slides after the show. Okay, so those of you that kind of want to stick around to chat, we can do that. I don't know if Nourish records that or not, but as we highlighted before, we just see this as the beginning. When it comes to groups like MEDAV providing funding to a project, we don't see it as ending when the funding ends per se. We want to continue the discussion. We didn't do all this work just to throw it up on a website and no one to ever use it. It's here for you. And so we're here for you as well. So if you want to reach out and talk to us, we can provide support within our means and abilities and workload, but we're here to provide support if you need it, or we'll direct you to people that can. Anybody else want to jump in before we wrap up? Okay, I'll pass it back to Lindsay.
Thanks, Shannon. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining us this afternoon. I know I learned a lot, and I'm sure you did too. And we're at Nourish very excited to keep this conversation going with the Mount and Breakfast and Beyond. So keep an eye out also for more webinars from Nourish that will be announced over the summer, including one on using neutral food language in schools and childcare settings. Have a great day, everyone. See you next time.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone.
Nourish rocks.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Everybody.